my name is Kyle Kalk, and welcome to my AOC 2 1401 Project 1 video review. For this project, I created a simple app with my base being sports, and then my subclasses being football, baseball, and hockey, each one doing a calculation for a different kind of statistic. For football, it was yards per play, baseball, it was on-base percentage, and for hockey, it was points per game. I'm not sure what I could have done all too much better this time around. I had to take the month of December off, which I would have been in AOC 2 that month, so it was a little bit hard to get back into the swing of things, but overall it didn't take too long. It was a little bit of trying to remember all the code I had just learned in AOC 1, but for the most part it was pretty smooth sailing, and there wasn't too much I had to do to relearn everything. And it wasn't so much relearning as just kind of looking back and going, oh yeah, that's how you do this, this, and this. So it wasn't too bad. It didn't take too much time. The biggest stumbling block this week was just, for the most part, doing the subclasses and figuring out that my base class, if I leave it only, the calculation only in the base, then it just gets overwritten right away, and my certain statistic that I needed to use then in my subclass calculation didn't get carried over. So here's my application running on the iPad. Very plain Jane, nothing too fancy going on here. You can see I just have a few different stats in here. Some are not very realistic stats, but nonetheless they're there, and all the calculations are working as intended. So that is my project 1. I will quickly go over my code here in a minute. So here's my code. I'll just go briefly over it. Here's my base. It has my type defs defined for my sports, football, baseball, and hockey. Underneath, I have my properties. I have 2 NS strings and 3 ints that will be used by all subclasses. Here is just a quick look at one of my subclasses. As you can see, I have 2 properties defined here for just football, plays in game and yards per play. And if I look at the implementation file, as you can see, I synthesize all of those, and then I come down for my actual coding. I have my init, which sets everything to 0. That way when I set it in my view controller, they won't have a default value. And down at the bottom here, I have my calculations. I have my base one that gets me my total for the stats, and then underneath it my football only calculation, which is to calculate my yards per play. And if we quickly look at the view controller, you can see here my comments. I've started to do it where I comment it by section. That way I have one big comment header, and then I know everything underneath that is for that particular piece of code. So as you can see here, this is my football one. So I got my football, it calls the subclass. I have then set in my stats, and underneath I then have my if statement. So that sets everything else, my NS string, my NS log, and it will do all the calculations based on that. And then further down, I have another bit of block of code here, and this is the creation of my labels. So here I just create all my labels for everything I need, and I then set it. I add in my string with format so I can get all the information in there, and then at the bottom I call the self.view and then add the subview to add my labels to the application. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you had a great week and look forward to seeing your work in the coming weeks. Thank you.